Are we almost ready to eat the cookies?
Okay, ready?
Not too close.
Okay, ready?
Dad.
Stella, you. Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Becky.
We're registered dietitians that are passionate about using food as medicine.
In today's video, we are going to be making one of our favorite mindful indulgences, grain-free cutout cookies.
Y'all know that I love a good mindful indulgence. In fact, every book I have out there has a chapter for mindful indulgences. To me, as a low-carb dietitian, I want to ensure that a dessert is going to still be low glycemic, grain-free, and added points if you can include some food as medicine. So when I was on the hunt to find a cutout cookie or develop a cutout cookie recipe, when Stella was 2, the first thing I tried was the Bob's Red Mill gluten-free flour blend, all-purpose flour blend. And it had garbanzo bean flour and fava bean flour and even potato starch. So ultimately, it was too high in refined carbohydrates, and the texture was very brittle, and it kind of had a bean-like flavor. So I went on to work with almond flour and coconut flour. This is the base and the foundation of this cutout cookie. And then we're going to get whole food fiber from these grain-free sources of the carb, if you will. And then we use a good amount of fat, a whole stick or a half cup of butter. This is going to support the glycemic index and take away that naked carb. And then we also even add whole eggs to get some more protein.
And then you guys know from our video on why non-caloric sweeteners suck that we always opt for real food forms of sweetener. So this particular cookie is going to use raw, local, unfiltered honey, which is going to provide some B vitamins and even provide a little bit of relief potentially for seasonal allergies. So something like honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar, dates. You can find more about our favorite sweeteners in the video linked below.
Absolutely. So let's get started with the cookies.
Okay, so we've gone ahead and scraped the dough out and formed it into a ball. You'll have noticed that it had a little bit of texture left, so really important not to over mix. And we're gonna go ahead and just kind of form this into a little bit of a log, place it on some unbleached parchment paper, and roll it up. Twist the ends. And then we want to set this in the fridge for about 4 hours. So that's going to allow the butter to fully solidify so that the rolling process is so much easier.
Yes, that's a key tip. Pro tip, and you might even make the dough overnight and then do the cutout process the next day. I've been known to do that while Stella's sleeping. All right, so over here with the icing, we are going a little bit more old school, not following the purest approach. So if you wanted to keep it whole food based, you could use raw unfiltered honey and just add our flavor enhancers, which are blackberries in this one, raspberries, and we're going to do elderberry. So you could do small amounts of those for color with raw unfiltered honey and use that as an icing. You could add in some heavy whipping cream, but in our option, we are gonna use organic powdered sugar. I feel with this mindful indulgence, it provides the best texture and the best aesthetic, and we want them to be pretty too. So I have 6 to 7 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream here. So this is going to be some fat to offset the naked carb of that 1 cup of organic powdered sugar. So let's get this mixing, and we're just going to slowly incorporate the heavy whipping cream. All right, so we've established a really nice texture. This recipe is very forgiving because we had pre-measured 7 tablespoons of the heavy whipping cream. I ended up adding another 1/3 cup or so of powdered sugar. So if you want to stay at that 1 cup, you might want to start with 5 tablespoons. And it really is just how thick you would like it to be. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then we will disperse it into our 3 different flavor and color enhancers. All right, so over various holiday seasons, you can always find a natural colorant. Of course, at natural food stores, there's different products out there that are colored by things like beets and what have you, but I just like to use whole foods. So Becky's mashing 2 blackberries, right, over there.
2 blackberries.
We have 3 raspberries, and then we have elderberry syrup. And if I'm looking for green, I'll often use a couple pinches of matcha. For a nice creamy yellow, I will use often turmeric root. And you can even use dried or freeze-dried fruits like the freeze-dried strawberries. Grind those up, and those can be really fun sprinkles, or could also be used if you don't want a texture in your frosting. And if you'd like, you can strain out the seeds of these, but we don't mind a little bit of fiber, extra fiber in our cookies. It reminds us that it is a whole food, which is always fun.
So we've popped that dough out of the fridge after about 4+ hours, and I'm gonna unwrap this guy. It's nice and firm, and I'm actually gonna cut this into about thirds because this recipe works best if you return the portion that you're not using to the fridge while you're rolling out the rest of the dough. So Allie and I will go ahead and start rolling these out, and I'm gonna pop this guy back in the fridge.
All right. And I wanted to note on the ratio of almond flour to coconut flour. Oh, before I do that. So what I did is I took a parchment paper piece on top of the parchment paper, and this allows us a non-stick surface to be able to roll out our dough. Once we get that kind of spread, then we'll be able to use the roller as such. So we'll get this kind of going out here. So I wanted to note on the ratio of the almond flour to coconut flour. I'll let you roll as I chat on that. So it's really important that when we're selecting a baked good or a mindful indulgence, it's important to me to ensure that we don't use too much coconut flour. Coconut flour can be really drying and can kind of suck the saliva out of your mouth and be a little too cakey. So when I'm developing a recipe, you'll see that I'm always using less than 1/4 of the total amount of the nut flour from coconut flour. So this recipe uses 3.5 cups of almond flour to only 3/4 of a cup of the coconut flour to maintain that perfect balance of a nice mouthfeel. All right, so Becky is rolling out the dough, and let's see, how would you describe this, Becky? Like a 1/16 inch, an 1/8 inch thick? I think we could go a little thinner here in the middle.
Thinner needs to be in the middle, but yes, it's pretty thin.
And if you don't have a rolling pin, you can always use an extra bottle of mom juice to get the job done. Since I only have 1 rolling pin in my house, I'll meet you in the middle here. So y'all, when you're spreading the icing, you can spread it with a knife, which I have here, but
Yeah, but make sure we have a smock on so we can get the frosting on our smock.
oh, that's a good idea. Maybe, oh, we missed your baking apron. But you can also do a little drizzle here like this, and that would keep it even a little bit lower carb. Hey, Miss Thang, you don't get more than one bite. Wait to try it on your cookie.
Cookie dance, cookie dance.
This part, we're ready for eating them.
So if you liked today's video, make sure that you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the Naturally Nourished YouTube channel, where we leave all of our favorite food as medicine recipes. And if you've tried these cookies, we know you will love them. So definitely leave some comments below as well. Cheers. Friends. With only 3/4 of a cup, or was it a half cup? Of coconut flour.
I have no idea.
Is 3/4, Byron, is 3/4?